Well guys, you knew it was bound to happen at some point. The team at WB Montreal is finally starting to put out some really quality content showing off Gotham Knights. And here's the kicker, the person playing actually knows what they're doing. Alright, look, I'm being overly critical, but I'm genuinely looking forward to playing this game. And it's really hard to get hyped for a new title when it's clear that the gameplay being showcased isn't the best version of itself. Luckily, that's not the case today, and don't worry, there's nothing too spoilery here, no way the team would allow that ahead of launch, but what I do want to focus on is what we actually learned from this video. Now, first and foremost, we have to talk about Harley herself. I mentioned in our last video breaking down some of the new villains that she's a much different Harley Quinn than we're used to seeing portrayed in modern media. She's darker, grittier, still a bit crazy, but more sinister with her intentions, and that's honestly great to see. The wacky, crazy girl Harley is a bit overplayed, and it's nice to see the character stepping into a more serious Joker-esque role. No clue if he'll actually make an appearance, but I'm 100% into the idea of just giving Harley the spotlight. Now, the team did say this scene takes place towards the end of her arc, so I assume this is her sort of final form, which is great because it's a drastic change from her origin point, which I believe is here, but I could be wrong. Alright, so let's dive into the combat because, like I said in the intro, this is the single best showcase we've seen when it comes to action in Gotham Knights. A couple things that really stand out. First is Nightwing's emphasis on acrobatics. Watching the character string movement abilities together is really impressive and breaks away from the traditional lock on the boss, occasionally dodge backwards pattern that we see in nearly every other game. Being able to cartwheel, back handspring, and flip around like a damn circus performer is one of the coolest things about the character, and honestly, it looks like they nailed the movement and animations. Livid does have a few issues with some of the frame blending, but I'll give it a pass. Now, what you might be thinking while watching this is, God, it all looks slow, and while I agree with you to some extent, I would argue it gives you the time to appreciate every aspect of the combat. The game itself looks to play more like a true RPG, leaning more into realism and away from the arcadey speed and animations that we're used to in other superhero games, all at the cost of speed. This is amplified because of the game's momentum system. We talked briefly about this in our recent Red Hood skills and abilities video, and now I think we can confidently connect all of those dots. As we can see under the giant IGN watermark, Nightwing has 6 of his momentum abilities unlocked. Each momentum ability costs a certain amount of momentum, which is calculated underneath his ability grid. As he lands attacks, and even when he dodges, you can see tiny bits of momentum building up. Once he reaches a certain threshold, we see the bar illuminate, indicating 1 complete momentum. In this case, based on what I assume is a combination of level and gear, Nightwing has 5 momentum bars, which really allows the person playing the character to lean into some of his special attacks. While Nightwing's moves haven't officially been revealed, we still get a great look at some of what he brings to the table. Right off the bat, we see Nightwing use a cold-based line attack that deals damage and adds some sort of cold status effect to Harley. We also see Nightwing use his suit to emit a sort of MIB-style flash effect, temporarily stunning enemies around the pulse. Now you can see some abilities cost 1 momentum, others cost 2, and you can tell based on the purple frame around the ability. Throughout the fight, we also get a look at standard attacks of both the melee and ranged variety, and while Nightwing doesn't have the most exciting ranged attacks, in fact it's pretty boring, I think the team does a good job with what they have. At one point, we see the progression of the chill effect on Harley max out, and this looks to give Nightwing the ability to engage in a sort of pre-animated chain attack. It's a quick maneuver, not overly drawn out, but it does consume the charge and does do a ton of damage. We also get a taste of Nightwing's tornado ability, and boy oh boy does this one look like a doozy. Combine acrobatics with a massive AoE ice storm, and you've pretty much got yourself the full picture here. The ability lasts for a solid couple of seconds, has a great AoE radius, and as expected, does some healthy damage. Sadly, that's the last of his moveset we got a taste of, but it's enough of a teaser to really get me thinking about what main I want to play come October 21st. Now, before we wrap up, I also wanted to point out the enemy attacks, specifically how they're telegraphed. Honestly, I'm a fan of the minimalist approach the WB Montreal team is taking. It's not an over-the-top attack imminent spam dodge sort of alert, it's more of a measured approach to the system, and while there are clear variations between standard attacks and special attacks, it's not in your face about it. Keep in mind there may be levels of customization to this within the settings, but at least in my opinion, it allows you to be more in the fight without relying on a serious crutch, which I think will make for a better boss encounter. Truthfully, if you haven't done so already, go watch the full combat clip over on IGN's page. It was really the first time we saw a knight in action under the control of someone that really knows what they're doing, and without all of that heavy editing, it gives you a much more realistic sense for how the gameplay is going to pan out. Whether or not you decide to play Gotham Knights, you better believe that Livid and I will be checking out the game, as well as a number of other titles still to come this year. So if you want to stay up to date on everything going on in the world of gaming, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, and subscribe. I also want to let you know that our 2022 Leave a Legacy charity event is set for Saturday, October 22nd. For a second year in a row, we've partnered with Connecticut Children's to help bring the joy of video games to kids at the hospital. Mark your calendar, set a reminder, and be sure to join us on Discord to stay up to date with everything regarding our upcoming event. That link, of course, is below. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.